He's a hustler, unbreakable, a people's person, and a future billionaire. This is The Hustler's Corner with Sbu Liope, well known to you and I as DJ Sbu.
Hello to all the hustlers all across the world. This is DJ Sbu once again, and welcome to another episode of The Hustler's Corner. Now, I'd like for you guys to like, share, and subscribe on the channel. Talk about it with your friends. Share it with your friends. And I'd like for you guys to click the notification button so that every time when we drop new videos, you are notified. So we're gonna click that notification button on the count of 1, 2, 3. Click, 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 click. Thank you. Now, the person that I'm sitting with is one of my, I'll call her one of my mentors. I'll call her one of my mothers. And without having to misrepresent her, I'm gonna read from her profile, right? Dr. Mamikie Molapo is an educator, an inspirational speaker, a global one at that, by the way, a life coach, a mentor to many, and a leadership consultant, very well known worldwide for facilitating sessions for women in leadership positions. Her clients includes corporates, various government departments, and faith-based organizations. Some of her work and topics include balancing private and public life, emotional intelligent leaders, priority management, stress management, going through the glass ceiling, personal and professional branding, coaching, and mentorship. She holds a BSc degree in human development and resource management from the university in the A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama. She then also obtained her master's in science, the Master's of Science in Home Economics, and another master's again of arts degree in theology, and recently completed her PhD. I'm afraid we are hustlers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Mamikie Molapo. Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
Our podcast is about inspiring our audiences.
Yeah.
There's a global shift. There's a new generation of, I call them hustlers, young professionals, entrepreneurs, but just people that want to grow their careers.
Yeah.
But a lot of them find themselves going through the ups and downs of life or trying to figure themselves out in this world. And a lot of them reach stumbling blocks, some of them because of this social media facade of the perfect life. They either fall into depression, they don't know what to do. So we've created this podcast to sort of give them an opportunity to listen to stories from people like yourself. So for those who don't know you, who is Dr. Mamikie Molapo?
Oh, Mamikie Molapo is a girl from the township.
And don't be afraid to speak, ma'am.
No, I'm not at all. I grew up in the township. I was born in Soweto, grew up in Soweto.
Oh, so Kokas.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's a Kokasi. In a dysfunctional home. The first part of my life, dysfunctional home.
And that was the apartheid South Africa then?
That was the apartheid South Africa, and then also causing my dad, he didn't behave in ways that fathers should have behaved. But long story short, he ended up abandoning the home, leaving, and my mom struggling with us, and then she got married again, and we had a stepfather.
How big was your family?
3.
Oh, okay.
3. 2 boys and me.
Oh, okay. Last born?
No, middle.
Oh, middle. Okay.
Yeah, I get last born.
Oh, okay.
Middle. But here's one thing that I can say with that dysfunction is that I'm beginning to learn that there are broken people in the world.
Yes, ma'am.
And it doesn't matter what you do for them, they're broken. And you can't fix their breaks. You can't. And I think my mom tried to do the best that she could, and it just didn't work. But long story short, and I say this, not because I'm unique, there's so many other people who come from families like that,
Yes, ma'am.
Broken families, dysfunctional families. But my mom got an opportunity to get married again and married this amazing, amazing guy. When I say amazing, I mean amazing.
Yes, ma'am.
And
that was your stepfather?
Oh yeah, my stepfather. My stepfather was amazing.
Same here.
But here's what I want to say, is that even in what we do as hustlers, you're hustling out there, folks. Even as you hustle, when you meet a disappointment, don't say everybody else is a disappointment. There are disappointments, and then there are other people who are not disappointments. But anyway, so grew up, went to school in the Eastern Transvaal, old Eastern Transvaal. Now I'm dating myself.
Now is what, Mpumalanga?
Mpumalanga.
Oh,
Went
quite
to school
jumpy already.
Yeah, I went to school in Mpumalanga. Then I finished and I had an opportunity a few years later to go overseas, and I went and I got my schooling and I had my...
I think let me disturb you there. How did you get an opportunity to go study overseas? Especially then, South
when
Africa.
you hustle, there's something that God does, and he just opens doors that you never could open yourself. He just does stuff that when you look at it, you think, this wasn't me, this wasn't my parents, this must have been God. Because there's a guy who came from the university in the States. He was the president of the university. He came to visit South Africa, and my mom could speak. My mom was a very good speaker. So her friends invited her to say, this guy is coming, we're having dinner for him. Can you come and just be the speaker for the evening, the welcoming dinner? And so she went, she spoke, and she sat there and she says, so how do I get my daughter to your school?
I'm okay and alive.
Live.
Really hustler.
Yeah, my mom was a hustler of note. And the guy says, oh, incidentally, I brought a few forms and gave my mom the forms. And let me tell you, when I got those forms, listen, somebody needs to listen to this. When I got those forms, I had matric results that were less than
the required...
Exactly. The South African system had said you can't get in, it's, you don't meet the requirements. And this man says, apply, and let's see if we can take you. I applied. He says, well, your results are not so good, but I believe in potential. So I'll give you a chance. I'll give you the first semester in school. And with the first semester in school, if you can make the first semester, you're in. Not only did I make the first semester, when I graduated that university, I was summa cum laude, the top.
Sure.
I was in who's who in American universities and colleges. I was on the dean's list. I was on the presidential list. I was on every list of achievement you can get because somebody gave me an opportunity.
But it's not an easy thing for you to move from one continent to another, especially those days. How was the experience in terms of culture shock and settling in that environment? And I'm sure you were one of the few black kids in that environment.
There was a lot. There was a lot of shock going in. It was predominantly a black school. So
okay. Was it an HBCU?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
But also it was a private school. So which meant that you had to hustle for your school fees. It wasn't cheap. But so I went, and they had industries where you work. The shock was just being away from home. But I knew that I had an opportunity to achieve what I could never achieve at home. So I had to deal with the shock the best way that I could. And I did. Thank God that I was able to stick it out. I was able to do what needed to be done.
Yes, ma'am.
And I made it. And I didn't even graduate from that school. I had to leave halfway through and go to another university that was now a public one. So the fees were lower. Okay. And I graduated from there, but I still graduated high honors. I did my master's. I got my master's in a year instead of being a 2-year degree because I was hustling. I needed to finish. I got a scholarship at the tail end of my studies, and I needed to make sure that I could use the scholarship. So struggle is part of life.
It's part of the journey.
I have to look at somebody. When I look at somebody who says they haven't struggled, I really feel sorry for them, not because I want them to struggle, but because life is never neat. Life is never easy.
Yes, ma'am.
Life is not all a bed of roses. Life is not something, except for maybe kids who are born in very, very rich families who don't have to do anything. But for the regular people like you and I, we struggle.
Yes, ma'am.
But the thing about it is, struggle does not define who we are. Struggle does not put you in a box and say you've struggled, your name is going to be struggle for the rest of your life, and leave you there. Struggle says, what are you going to do with me now? Are you going to take me in and make me an excuse and wear me on your shoulder? Or are you going to get up and say, look, I can get beyond this. I can stand up above what I'm struggling with. And that's what I decided to do. And there are many people who've decided to do that. So for young people today, the biggest problem that I find is that we live in an imposter world. Young people live in a social media world. They live in a world where they don't see you when you wake up in the morning. They don't see the struggles. They don't even see your bedroom half the time. They don't see where you sleep. They don't see what you have or don't have. but you want to show them. I mean, I was with this lady, I took a car in for service, and she was standing next to this nice car and taking a picture. I said, well, I'm gonna post this picture. I'm like, that ain't your car. She said, no, it's okay, I'm just, and that's what we do. That's what people do. They're living lives that are not their lives. They're taking pictures in places. I mean, we are where we are right now. If I had to stand up next to a car, that's not my car. I was driving behind a Bentley, and I thought, that looks very nice. It ain't my Bentley. If I find it parked outside and I take a picture next to it, it doesn't make it my Bentley. Yes. But because of social media consumption, people are living those false lives, and they have become false. Even adults, unfortunately, we have become false. We have become imposters. We are not living good lives. It is so bad that even the younger, and now talking to young ladies, even the younger ladies who are living these imposters' lives, they see somebody else living a life, and so they have to sacrifice their lives, sacrifice their character, sacrifice their morality, sacrifice their bodies just to live a life that somebody else is living that is perhaps a lie because it was just posted on social media.
And that puts pressure on them.
It puts pressure, and we were talking earlier about depression. People are depressed.
Yes, ma'am.
And they're just, people are dying internally.
Yes,
they're
ma'am.
Imploding.
That's why I started this podcast, actually.
Yeah, they're imploding, and for what? For something that you don't understand, for something that you don't know. And so it's time that particularly women, I mean, I'm in a season now where I dedicated my life to taking care of others.
Yes, ma'am.
This season.
And you've been doing that for a while.
Oh, yeah. This season is mine now.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm taking care of me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm loving me.
And how important is it at some point to look at yourself when you are in the business of helping other people? Sometimes we get confused, especially people like myself who are walking on your footsteps, when we want to help, but there's times where I don't know how to balance looking at myself or putting me first and other people. Sometimes when I'm too focused on myself, I kind of feel ish.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you balance?
There's a man that I respect a lot. Dr. Richie, you know Dr. Richie?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a saying he has, and I've taken that with both hands. Dr. Richie says, I will not help anybody who's not in labor. I'm like, Dr. Richie, what do you mean? He says, everybody who comes and asks for my help must be at the point of giving birth. In other words, you must be so willing. It doesn't matter if you're down and out, if you're out on the street, it doesn't matter if you're sleeping under a bridge. There comes a time in a person's life where there's a switch in your life where you say, I cannot have this any longer. Yes. I cannot live this way any longer.
When you're sick and tired,
then you're ready to give birth.
Oh, okay.
And so what we have done is we've run around and helped people who are not even in labor. And we are asking them to push, and they don't know how because they're not in labor. If I ask the woman who's about to give birth to push, she knows what that means. She knows she's got something that she has to deliver.
Yes,
and so when the time to push comes, she can listen to Sbu when Sbu says push. Why? Because Sbu knew what it was like when he was walking out in the taxi rank, what I told you about earlier on. Pushing what needs to be pushed, come on fire. Ne?
Yes, ma'am.
So when somebody comes to you and say, I want to be an entrepreneur, they have to be at that point where they say, what do I do to win?
Yes.
Not, I want to be an entrepreneur, Sbu. So what do you want to do? I don't know. I'm not really sure. What do you think I can do? You're wasting your time with a person like that. You need to send them elsewhere. It's not that they cannot be helped. It's just that you have to determine who are you willing to help. Are you going to send them to somebody else? There are very many people who are welfare cases. They'll take welfare cases and they will nurse you through. Yeah, this is what you can do. That's what you can do. That's the other that you can do. And once they're done there, then they can come to you and you can help them. So you need to sit down and say, who am I going to help? How am I going to help them? And then there needs to be people that you say, you know what? Sorry, I can't help you.
Excuse me, ma'am. Let me remove this phone because I do know that at some point it might disturb us. You can do your thing with it as well. You can eat, ma'am. Take your time.
So you get to a place where you say, you know what? I don't think I can help this person. There's nothing wrong with that. People want to be helping and helping and helping and help. You cannot help everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
You end up being so fatigued that the ones that you need to help get very little of you.
But how do I do that such that I don't feel bad about it? I mustn't feel bad of putting myself first sometimes, man.
No, you mustn't feel bad at putting yourself. What the world has told us is if you put yourself first, you're selfish.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You meet me out on the road and my car battery is flat.
Yes, ma'am.
And I say, Sbu, can you please help jumpstart my car? Help to recharge my battery. If you come to me and your car's battery is not charged, what are you going to do for me?
If it's not charged, I can't help you.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't take care of you, how do you take care of me?
Yes. So my cup has to be overflowing.
Has to be overflowing.
Yes.
And you have to get to a point, Sbu, where you say, my cup is overflowing. I know I've taken care of myself to where I want to take care of myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I have time to help somebody else. And then you can go out and help them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Take care of you first. How do I give if I have nothing to give?
Yes, ma'am.
How do I say to you, come, let me do something for you if I have not done it for myself first? How do I tell you that you can succeed, Sbu, if I haven't struggled? How do I get up after life has kicked me down? After somebody's disappointed me, after somebody's backbitten me,
Yes,
after
ma'am.
somebody's gossiped about me? How do I get up and make it again if I hadn't done it before?
Yes, ma'am.
Or how do I encourage somebody who's going through it for the first time?
For the first time.
If I haven't gotten it? You know, and we have a lot of experts who speak from, I call them armchair experts.
Spectators.
Oh yeah, they're spectators. So how do you know? I think DJ Sbu maybe went through this. If you didn't go through it, I don't think it gives you the legitimacy
To talk about it.
to talk
Yes, ma'am.
about it. You can talk about it if you haven't gone through it, but it's not going to be as strong and as potent as somebody who's gone through it.
Now, how did you know what to study? Because a lot of our hustlers out there, you'll find that they don't know what they want to do or what they want to become, or even those that maybe, let's say, are starting businesses, what businesses to get into. Those that are graduate, or those that are maybe finishing matric, getting to varsity, they don't know what to go study, etc. Well, now, how did you know what to study? And after studying, why did you choose to get into life coaching and the work that you did and became an entrepreneur?
I got into my studies by sheer fluke, Sbu. I was like a lot of people who didn't know what they were going to study. I just went to school and I decided, I love babies, I love dealing with people, and I looked at a field that mixed both, human development and human resources management. And so that's how I studied. I studied out of my love, out of something that I love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens normally is that people study out of what their parents want.
Yes.
And they end up not using it or being effective in it because it's not what they want. It's not what they love. So even as we talk to hustlers, I think the first thing that we should really be doing is talking to those adults who are parents. Say, now it's about doctor. What if they don't want to be a doctor? What if it's not something that they love to do? And I know a lot of kids who will graduate and go give their degree to the parents. It's, here's your degree. Now I'm going to go and do my own thing.
whatever. Yeah.
But then secondly,
Just like I did.
yeah.
I gave them the electrical engineering.
Yeah.
Then I went my way.
But then secondly, also one of the biggest things is, how do you study? You study, or what do you study? You study something that you yourself want to do, something that you love, something that can, as a hustler, I want to start a business. What do I study? Go study something that you love to do. Because if I want to start a business in electrical engineering and I haven't studied that, I'm lost. So what business do you want to start? Go study something that will help you with that. You know, I look at people like, I was listening to Zuckerberg speak the other day at the graduation in Harvard. And it's amazing. He said, one of the things that he said was, if I get through this speech, it will be the first thing that I finish at Harvard.
Yeah, because he didn't finish his degree.
No, he didn't, but he knew what he wanted. And because he did not finish his degree, he went and he educated himself on what he wanted. And that's why he's the best today without a degree. How about Microsoft? Bill Gates. Bill Gates didn't finish either, They had to go and study on the side what they wanted, and they made themselves who they are today. So sometimes I think education is really good. There's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes it can be overrated. It really can be overrated. Let's say you don't have the money. You cannot go to university. So you're not gonna hustle because you didn't go to university? You're not gonna go out there and find something that you like to do, that you can do, something that can say, okay, this is what I want to make my life out of. But there are people who've made that paramount in their lives. Yeah, I didn't go to school, I didn't get this, so I can't get that. We are always blaming somebody for what we don't have, or something for what we don't have. But there are people, my grandmother, I love entertaining, I love setting the table, I love beautiful things.
Yes,
my
ma'am.
grandmother was a standard 4 graduate, if that was graduation. Royal Reader standard 4. This woman could set a table. She was one of those who had just absolutely top game when it came to that, because she loved it. She educated herself. She used to work for German guys. She used to look at them, get magazines and stuff. And today, I'm one of those. If you come to my house and I set the table for you, you sit and you look at it first.
Yes, ma'am.
And you think, wow.
Just presentation,
Wow.
7 colors there before you be like, hey, Jalo.
And because you have to feel royalty.
Yes, ma'am.
How do I call you to my table and slap things together and say, here's food, eat, and expect you to bring me your best self to the table? And it's one of those things that hustlers do. We don't respect ourselves enough to do the best for ourselves. And so by the time you get there, you're behind the game. And it's simple things, it's little things. When we do something like this, normally shoes don't show.
Yes, ma'am.
People see here.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you do a TV shoot, to see what people are wearing beyond the waist, if you go under the waist, they just dress anyhow. I don't like that. I don't like it because at the end of the day, I don't even feel well put together. You may not see my shoes, but I can see them.
Yes, ma'am. Just that confidence.
You may not see what I'm wearing on my skirt, but I can see it. And how do I feel about that? How I feel about that, I bring to my hustle. How I feel about that, I bring to life itself. And so if we can start taking care of who we are and take care of this, man, this is, hustlers, the sexiest part of your body is up here.
It all starts in the mind.
Mind.
I talk about it in the book, The Art of Hustling.
Oh my God.
Guys, hear it from people that have walked the journey before us.
My goodness.
Ma'am, please share about how important it is to deal with that conscious and the subconscious mind.
It is so, so, so important. First of all is, what do you put in your mind? People put garbage up here. That's why people end up treating themselves like garbage, because they put garbage in here. They put stuff that doesn't matter. They put things that don't take them anywhere in life.
Reverend Ike says, we are made in the image of God.
Oh, yes.
So which means we are God ourselves. Yes. We must treat ourselves as gods, and we must love ourselves so much that when we're looking at ourselves, we're looking in the mirror, we are looking at God.
But do you know there's a scripture that says that God says, I have made you like God. And he says, but because you do not behave like God, you will die like mere men. It's amazing to hear the Creator saying, I've made you like God. So you need to behave like one.
So you can't be putting in rubbish basically you're putting in rubbish in a God.
Yeah. And you're devaluing who you are. You're devaluing your stature. People don't read. If you were to ask among the people who you said they should click, how many of them have your book? I wonder. So I would challenge you that even as you click, connect with him and get a copy of his book and start reading. People read nonsense. That is why they're full of nonsense. If you've got nonsense here, when you open your mouth, nonsense comes out and you're of no value. But if you put value here and you're a hustler, even when I come to you to help me with part of my hustle, When I open my mouth, you say, I'm going to help her. She's a hustler.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to help him. He's a hustler.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
if you open your mouth and the stuff that you have in here comes out and it's useless stuff, who's going to help you? So any hustler who is worth their weight in salt should first start by knowing who they are, by putting good stuff in here. Read, and read some more. People don't read these days. You talk about a book and people look at you like, huh? What? Where? Unencwadi. DJ Sbu unencwadi. And they don't expect you to have a book, but you do. So buy the book, read the book. I'm able, doesn't matter where I go, not out of pride, but out of what I've put in here. You can stop me at a corner of the street and say to me, can we discuss this topic? I bet you I will be able to discuss it. Why? I am wide, I read. We just had a little conversation with the guy here about the movie that I said he should watch on Netflix. And
Yes,
he said
ma'am.
it's a movie that people normally would not pay attention to. Why? Because they're watching soap operas to do what?
The Kardashians.
The one thing that disappoints me, the Kardashians, ne?
So I wasn't
it-
trying to knock the Kardashians.
No, but here's what disappoints me. What disappoints me is everything that they have is sponsored. And we consume it like they own it. Own what? It's sponsored. They go through sponsorship, these people.
But they were clever to hustle that way. Because you guys are watching them.
I actually don't even fault them for it because they were smart. It's their hustle. Now go find a hustle that will give you a living. Don't consume somebody else's hustle.
Thank you. I like what
Why are
she's
you
just...
consuming somebody else's hustle when you can make a hustle yourself?
Dr. Mamikie Molapo just said something very important. Why are we always consuming other people's hustle when we can create our own products, brands, businesses for other people to consume? I always like saying this line, that create your own brand for other people to consume, or else you will continue to consume other people's brands or products to make yourself feel better. I guess that's why when you're wearing an Armani suit or you're wearing a Rolex watch or you're driving a nice BMW, you feel good. But that is somebody else's brand that you are consuming that's making you feel better. When are you going to start creating your own to make other people feel better? That's why you'll see these product placement brands and products here, because I've sort of understood that sort of mentality, and that's a journey I'm walking. How important is ownership, especially amongst us Africans?
Extremely. We want to have without working hard for it. And that's why we end up not owning. We don't end up owning because when I get something from this, I want to consume it immediately. So you've made money from this, you consume. And you don't save up to the ownership. So it's either we don't want to own or we want to own immediately. And when I say we don't want to own, we may say we want to own, but how we consume and the things that we do make sure that we don't own. But then secondly, there's another one where we want to own immediately. You're not going to own it immediately. You have to work for it, work towards it, work hard, and get to a point where you can say, you know what, this is mine now, I own it.
Summarizing what she's just said, it's a marathon, it's not a race. I do know that a lot of us hustlers, we want it now.
Sprint.
But what Dr. Mamikie Molapo is saying is that you gotta work for it. It's a marathon, you gotta put in the work. You gotta put in the work, guys. It's not gonna happen overnight. And I know you want it now. I know you're seeing friends and others succeed and doing well, and you kind of feel like you're being left behind, but you're not. Because everybody's got their own journey and you're running your own race, right?
Correct. Think of in the township when we grew up, was that mother who made makwinya sing. And they put you through school.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they went from makwinya ka baguette nyana, ka pizza nyana, they went to a bucket, they went from a bucket, they went high, and the next thing you know, abasarikisa makwinya. They've babutis pazanyana,
Yes.
abasarikisa ka baguette. Marunzarikisa makwinya ali because makwinya ali is what God had there. She hasn't abandoned makwinya ali because she knows that this is what opened the door for me. And she's known to be saying she sells makwi. And so she nurses her business and she keeps on climbing higher and higher with the business that she started in her kitchen on a small scale. And that's how you own, and that's where the marathon comes in. But we want to sprint. We want to get here and jump and fly. You can't. Nobody flies. Ask the people who've made it. It was not a sprint. I was watching some time ago, I was watching the story of Apple. And I was watching how at one time, even in his factory, Steve Jobs, how in his own business, the board kicked him out.
Yeah, from his own business.
From his own business, and they gave him a little something, and he was at home. I mean, I saw this guy watering the garden, frustrated because they kicked him out from his own business. But because he knew that it wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon, he knew he'd come back. He knew the vision that he had, they didn't have. They needed somebody to run that vision. They got a little glimpse of it and they thought, that's it, we got the vision. But they hadn't got the fullness of the vision. In fact, when he even went and said, let's do this, I was listening to a guy talking about just a conference that he had gone to, and he was speaking at the conference, and it was a tech conference. And so he comes out and he speaks to one of the guys in the bus who works for Apple. And they're in the bus together going back to the hotel. And he says to the guy, he says, you know, Samsung really beats you on this. I don't even remember what the gadget was that Samsung had just brought out. He said, Samsung beats Apple on this. He says, the guy turned around and says, I believe they do. He didn't stand up there and says, no, we are better than Samsung and blah. He says, no, I believe they do. I believe they beat us on that. But we know what we want. We know what we are doing. We're focusing on our thing. We are not competing with Samsung. We are competing with Apple. And look at the gadgets that they brought out. Where's Samsung now? Samsung is only thriving on cameras, really, on their phones.
Yes, ma'am.
But they don't thrive beyond that. Then look at how much Apple has thrived beyond the phone. Samsung, bar none. Their phones, their cameras were the best. And the guys slowly but surely are just taking in that market. Why? Because they know what they want. They're focused on what they want. They're not competing. It's a marathon for them. Hustlers, this thing is a marathon. I wonder if I see, okay, I'm sitting here with you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
We're looking at more fire.
Yes, ma'am.
If I wake up tomorrow and I want to make an energy drink, because you have an energy drink, let's see if it's gonna succeed overnight. I've seen you out on the road selling it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see if they're gonna buy mine without me going out on the road. So we want to compete. Oh, he's got this. Oh, he's got that. Oh, now I want all of this. Where did it start? Where did you start? How far have you come from your start? How many disappointments did you have along the way? How many no's did you have along the way? When you started, everybody said yes to you?
No, everybody said no. And the pushback was actually even from my own audience, my own customers.
Oh, yeah.
My own people, actually.
Yeah. They said no.
I just never gave up.
What do you think? and here's the problem with Black people. When one wants to do something, we tell them, but you're not going to succeed. What do you think?
Yes, I remember. That's all what I heard from everyone, including my own mom.
Yeah, but what's your plan B? But you know, moms, I can forgive them
Well,
because
she
they're from
cares,
the old school.
Yes.
And they care. They are not in this new school where they know that you can hustle that hard in the new school. You know, they're from, get a degree, like shame people who've done art, who are told art is never going to feed you. Art feeds a lot of people who are good at it. You just know how to position it. You just need to know what to do. And those are things, that's a school that you've been through.
Shout out to Trevor Stearman and Nelson Makamu.
Skill of, you know, the school of hard works, but also the school of you got a break. And when you got a break, you did not say, I'm DJ Sbu, so give it to me. You hustled. People want to say, do you know who I am? I love that commercial. I don't know if you still remember the old Five Roses commercial at the airport, where this guy comes to the desk, check-in desk, and he's late and the flight is closed, and he says, do you know who I am?
Oh no, I don't remember.
Oh, it was a beautiful one.
Okay.
So he says to the air hostess, do you know who I am? And she gets on the PA system. Ding, ding, ding. She says, attention everybody. Come to check-in desk number so-and-so. There's a man who doesn't know who he is.
Oh, okay.
So if we can get some help. Simply because people want to ride on the back of others who've already worked and they think that you have it easy. Nobody has it easy. Everybody has hustle. It's just that now we live in a digital age. We live in an age where information is readily available. Go online, see how to do things, see what you can do, see who has done it and how they did it, and adapt it to your own situation.
Yes, ma'am.
Because things need to be adaptable to our situations and make it work.
When we are hustling, a lot of the times we believe in different things, and not only just hustlers, I guess everyone. How important is spirituality when it comes to hustlers and young people that are growing, that are on their own journey? Because others just don't believe, others are just doing their own thing, others are just abadiken, it's a religion or kerek or whatever. People just don't believe in it. Others are atheists, etc. But what role does spirituality play in one who is in consistent pursuit of their dream?
I have made you like God, and you will die like mere man. Spirituality is so important because you put yourself at a place where you understand who God is, you understand what God does. The Bible says He created by the word of His mouth. And if you are God, you can create this by the word of your mouth. Everything starts in the invisible that is visible. This is visible now, but it started in the invisible. It started in Sbu's head. I didn't see it.
Then it came to the grind.
I did not see it.
Yes,
Nobody saw it, but you did.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then you spoke it out. He created by speaking out. If you don't believe in shoring yourself up spiritually, how am I going to believe that I can say something and have it come to pass? He spoke it, so it started in Sbu's mind, and more fire came through his mouth. And as you say, everybody says, you can't do it. No, it's not gonna work. Oh, this, or that, or the other. And Sbu knew deep down that the very same God said, nothing is impossible to them who believe. Nothing. If you believe, it's not impossible. And so you believed it and spoke it long enough to have it come to reality. The biggest challenge that I find is when spiritually you are not connected. This, I believe, may have come through trial and error. There was parts in your life that did not work.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had to abandon the parts that didn't work. But because spiritually you're shored up, because spiritually you're firmed up, you did not say, I'm gonna die with my ideas. You said the idea is dead, but Sbu is alive. So Sbu is gonna get up and make it happen again. We all live through those disappointments. We all live through those things that are not good. But if we have that spiritual man on the inside of us alive, he says, get up, we can do it again. Remember we did it some time ago? It was small. Do you remember when you failed then? It was a little thing, but do you remember you got up? Do you remember the next one that happened and you failed at? But do you remember you got up again? That one took you a little longer than the other one. Do you remember on this one you lost a little more than you lost on that one? But here's the bottom line. Do you remember that you did get up? That's what spiritually happens to a person who has focused on their relationship with God. If not, that's when we end up in drugs. Because you have to have something that will numb the difficulties, the pain, the problems, the challenges that you're going through. You need something else that is external. And sometimes people end up being promiscuous. Sometimes people end up giving their bodies to blessers. Sometimes people end up doing all sorts of things. Why? Because they cannot deal with their situation, because on the inside, they have no storage. If you spiritually connected, you're storing stuff on the inside. Just like, when squirrels will run around and getting nuts and getting all sorts of things and burying them and putting them away. Why? For winter. Ants do the same. You don't see a lot of ants running around in the winter. Why? Because they've stored up. Spiritual connection is that storing up for you inside. Once you've stored it up, when the need arises, you can go in and pull it out.
Hustlers have got families. You have been a family person all along. How do I hustle and make my family understand the journey that I'm on? Because a lot of hustlers out there complain about not being understood in their family with their hustle. Others are getting disappointed or getting discouraged by their family on their hustle.
Include your family. Ask them just for one day. Just for one day, come, let's go together. Come see what I'm doing. Come understand where I am. Most of criticism comes when we don't understand what the person is doing. When we're looking from the outside into the inside and we start judging what's on the inside. I was watching, I don't know if you know the show with the nanny. As a lady who's a nanny. And she goes into different homes and she helps families who are struggling with disciplining their kids or setting up their homes.
Oh, no, stuff. I haven't watched it.
I was watching this guy. This guy he has a coffee shop, him and his wife. They have a coffee shop and then they have three little boys. And he's constantly out at the coffee shop and interfacing with the clients and it's doing well. And then he comes home and just criticizes his wife for not doing this and not doing that and not doing this to the boys and that and the other story. Then they called the nanny and said, please, we need help with just disciplining the boys. And the boys are young. I think the eldest is maybe 5 or whatever, so it's 3 of them. And so the nanny came in and helped them. And then she said on the one day she walked in and she had 2 aprons and one was written work and the other one was written home. Gave the dad the home apron, gave the mom the work apron and said, you go out to work today, you go to the coffee house, because she loves going to the coffee house.
Yes, ma'am.
She said she loves going and interfacing with people. So you go to the coffee house today, he stays home. Do you know by the end of the day when they sat down around the table to talk about how the day went for each, he said, I've always felt guilty that I wasn't there for the boys, but he never said anything, he never voiced it. And then secondly, he says, I didn't realize how hard my wife has it when she's here at home because you have to do this, that, and the other for the boys. And I've had to do it myself today. I got a little work done, but I didn't get as much work as I thought I would get done because I had to take care of the boys. And the woman at work also saw what the husband is doing and what she needed to do. So if we don't bring people into our house, your kids, for instance, sometimes your kids may not understand. Take them on a smaller scale and say, come, let's go. Come see what mom is doing. Come see what dad is doing. Your mom, come mommy, come see what I'm doing. Your dad, come see. Your siblings. Ask them on a one-on-one basis, come help me. I'm doing something on this project. Come help me with that. People understand better when they are hands-on than when they just look at it from the outside.
Wow. Now, you didn't only study in America.
Yep.
You also bought a home in America and you lived in America for many years. I don't know for how many years.
I lived there.
How was your hustle, especially then and all these years, comparing the 2 continents? Because I know there's hustlers who are watching who might think about territory or are talking about territory. Because people are watching from all over the world. And I don't know where you guys are watching from. But there's hustlers like myself who get to a point where I'm now a global citizen. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I'm finding the struggle between the 2 continents, financial issues or the climate or the rules and regulations, the government laws, etc. How did you manage your situation and settling in America?
One of the things is the settling in America, the biggest for me was for my children's schooling, for my children's education. So I focused on that a lot. And the hustle was less than the hustle that I do here. Because one of the things also as hustlers, you have to know, you store up. You work, you store up, and when you go away, you can have reserves. That's why I was saying hustlers sometimes want to spend immediately. As soon as they have it, they want to go and get the good car, they want to go get the good clothes. You can't do that.
I'm one of those. I made those mistakes, but I paid my school fees.
Now you know.
I've now learned, Now I know. I've learned the hard way. I've lost a lot of money.
And now you can share.
Yes,
which is amazing for those hustlers coming behind you because you can share it. So it was one of those things where I had to say, I have to do without 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order for my kids to go to school. Why? Because what I have are reserves for them to go to school. And I can say, thank God today my kids are educated and now I can start taking care of me. But being in different countries and different continents, you're correct. The hustle is different. You have to learn new laws, new rules. Things are not the same. In America, it's easy and yet it's not easy. If you get an opportunity in America, make use of it. But the one thing that I love about the Americans, beyond anything, do you know that you can come into a place in the most beat up jalopy and nobody cares? Nobody.
Nobody cares what you drive?
No. No, nobody cares what you drive. They're not looking at what you're driving. They're looking at what you're bringing to the table.
And what comes out of your mouth,
And
right?
what comes out of your mouth.
I've seen in cities like New York, you find millionaires in subway trains.
They don't care in America. Here we care too much about the four wheels. Something that when you take out of the showroom already is devalued. We care so much about those people don't care. That is why their hustle is the real hustle. It really is the real thing. That is why when you walk into their homes, now you can tell I'm in a home of a hustler because the home is top notch. The car, they don't care. We want to impress people outside, and yet we live like pigs in a pigsty.
Umpet is scared.
Scape is one thing. The copy I did tiny, the two I mean, it's like, please. I mean, one of the ways in which I love me is I take a bath. Oh, that is one of my utmost.
And that's another thing I wanted to speak to you about. Let's touch on that actually, image, because entrepreneurs or hustlers out there, image.
See, the first few seconds when you come across a person,
Yes,
you already
ma'am.
make a decision as to, can I take them serious or not? Image is everything, not false image, you. Because false image, there's something that I put out one time, and it was, if you live on lies, you have to remember the lies you said. But if you live on the truth, you don't have to remember anything, because truth will be truth today, it will be truth tomorrow, it will be truth 10 days from now and a year from now. So if you bring your authentic self to the table, your real you to the table, not the made up you, not the you who wants to look like something else, bring you to the table. You are much more acceptable that way, and people respect you that way. When my kids were little, we used to say we're going to take them to Disney. And I'd like, no, I don't want to take the kids to Disney right now. And the reason was, why don't you want to take the kids to Disney right now? I said, they're too young. I cannot see Disney through their eyes. I want to see Disney through my children's eyes. So you take them to Disney where they're at an age where they can appreciate. They can appreciate Mickey Mouse, they can appreciate the rides, they can appreciate. And so you go as an adult and say, hey, Skatela, and a child is so excited. And they show you things that you haven't seen. And you come back from the trip and you think the trip was for you. Why? Because you've seen it through the eyes of a child.
Yes, ma'am.
And so traveling is the same. You get to see the world through other people's eyes. Whether they be people who are high up or people low down, always stop to listen to somebody.
Humility, how important is that to any? Because you're speaking about it now.
My God, humility
to hustlers out there, because we get arrogant
is
sometimes when we think we've reached some sort of success.
Yeah. And guess what? You get arrogant, people turn their back and they walk away from you. They walk straight away, and you say, but I'm not doing as well as DJ Sbu is doing. Well, just look at what you were doing that he's not doing. Humility is so important. Let me tell you about when the vision has been born, and you're hustling and working with people and you're a hustler, you can either stay at a place where you are humble to learn from others and contribute, because humble people want to contribute and learn. People who lack humility can learn nothing, and they want to constantly tell. My idea is better than your idea. I can do things better than you can do things. Not true. The story that is told is of JF Kennedy, after he said he wanted to put a man on the moon. And he went to NASA, and when he got to NASA, he found a janitor cleaning the floors. And he went as a president, he walked into the bathroom, and here's this janitor just cleaning. And he said to him, oh, how are you, sir? And said, I'm fine. He said, so what do you do here? He said, Mr. President, I'm just helping put a man on the moon. He didn't say I'm cleaning the toilets. He didn't say I'm cleaning the floor. I'm just helping put a man on the moon. And the man was humble enough, the president, to acknowledge what this janitor was saying. Why? Because as a president, he could have said, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not even part of the group that is in them doing the machines and looking at all of that. You're just a janitor. But humility had him bring the janitor into it and thank the janitor for being part of the team that is helping realize his dream. He said, it's my dream as a president to put a man on the moon. Thank you so much for helping me realize that dream. Humility. Hustlers who lack humility don't go far. They don't. They fizzle out, because do you want to interact with somebody who's arrogant?
No, the energies don't connect.
They don't connect.
The frequency is just too much for me.
But if I sit down with you and I say, tell me how you did this, tell me that, tell me that, tell me the other, I may think I've made it, I've reached wherever I need to reach, but if I bring you into my space and I value you, it shows the humility that I have to even listen to the values and to listen to the thoughts of somebody else that I consider lower than me. And that person can say things to me that you'll never ever get with your own education.